there and welcome. This is Agenda 2030, a program designed to capture and critically examine Nigeria's effort towards the attainment of the SDGs. I am Toyin Nkamiang John.
Agenda 2030. As a successor framework for the Millennium Development Goals, the global community rolled out a bigger, deeper, and more encompassing framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, designed to transform our world, lift the poor out of poverty, as well as ensure inclusive and healthy society. On Agenda 2030, we take you on a media trip to the global destination of the future we want. With everyone on board, we focus on the people and their struggle, the civil society and their agitations, the government and her development effort, the global development agenda, its 17 goals and 169 targets. We bring you all the deliberations, insightful conversations and high-level partnerships on the road to global destination. Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
Remember, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/FreshNewsTV and youtube.com/Agenda2030TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Just log on to www.facebook.com/FreshNewsNG and www.facebook.com/Agenda2030TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda 2030 TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda 2030 and hashtag Agenda 2030 TV.
Where is the forum in where you can get information on what is happening at the national level, what's happening at the state level, and what government is doing.
Last week, we brought you the first phase of the interview with the Director of Strategic Communications and spokesperson of the Buhari campaign organization, Barrister Festus Keyamo. On this week's episode, we will be serving you with a concluding part of the interview as conducted by my colleague, Desmond Utoen. Do enjoy it.
We still have with us Barrister Festus Keyamo, the Director of Strategic Communication and the spokesperson of the Buhari campaign organization. And he's taking us through what this administration has been doing in terms of trying to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. You were talking about how well the government has done agricultural revolution and giving so much money into the pockets of the farmers now that they have become so rich to the extent that they wanted to even buy the presidential nomination form of the APC for Mr. President. If you want to expand on this, would you really say the president could have done more, and what are the challenges that he has faced in this very light?
Well, obviously, the room for progress is enormous. Enormous because the president has not even started. You can see that all of this has been achieved, in a context. And I want Nigerians to really, really take note of that context. It has been achieved in the context of very, very limited resources. The president walked into a storm in 2015. The storm was that there was absolutely no backup because the foreign reserves of the country had depleted so terribly. There was also no money coming in because the price of oil had crashed to about $28 per barrel. And so it was tough for the president. 24 states were owing salaries at that point, so there was workers' discontent. There was scarcity of fuel. If you remember, at the point they handed over power, fuel was so scarce. If a month to hand over, there was no fuel at all in the entire country. But everybody felt a new dispensation was coming, so everybody was patient at that time. So the president virtually walked into a storm and began to take, the problems one by one. So it's in that context. I want to let you know that it's in that context of very limited resources, of a recession we eventually fell into. That recession that he made all of these provisions. Now, just imagine, and that's a challenge, a major challenge he faced, if you ask of challenges, the very limited resources he had. And it was even in the face of all of this, in the midst of all of this, that he managed to squeeze out the strengths and the initiative to ensure that the agricultural sector was not abandoned. So I just want you to know that this president can be trusted with more resources. We know, you know, the opposition knows, everybody knows he will not steal money. He will not. And you have one of the best presidency I've ever seen since 1960. The two gentlemen there, the perception, and which the perception is very important, is the perception of extremely honest individuals in terms of personal integrity, the president and the vice. No fight over anything, no quarrel over anything, and all of that. So you can be sure that if they have more money at their disposal, and we do hope that that kind of money will come in their second term, if Nigerians do allow that, that you will see a complete revolution in that sector. He has done so much with so little, and that is the kind of change that they have brought into governance. So I also see another challenge as some of the security challenges in terms of farmers and herders clashes. So we should be honest about that. If, like some mischievous people suggest, the president does not like farmers, or he backs herders against farmers, why would he invest so much in agriculture? It flies in the face of logic that a president who loves agriculture so much, who had invested so much in agriculture, who wants a boost in agriculture, would deliberately support the decimation of farmers and their products by herders.
Okay, good health and well-being is one of the major plans of the Sustainable Development Goals, and you want to tell us how well this administration has done in terms of giving to the people that's healthcare development generally, to not just building of hospitals, good food, but also having the necessary manpower.
Good food is good health. And so you can be sure that within the context of the school feeding program, you are also improving the health of the children. But most importantly, you can see that the budgetary provision for health has gone up so significantly. It was about 26 billion naira in 2015 when they met it. But right now they are doing about 86 billion naira in budgetary provisions for health. And there's another 56 billion coming from the National Health Act. In addition to that budgetary provision, there's a special provision in the National Health Act, for health. And so that shoots it up to more than 100 or so billion for health alone in the 2018 budget. So you can see how passionate that the president, and the kind of attention, the passionate he is about health, the health sector, and the kind of provision that has been made in respect of the health sector.
What will you say about the effort of the Buhari government in terms of infrastructure? Because some Nigerians, especially those in the opposition, are saying that the government is talking about infrastructure, borrowing money, but they are not seeing so much on ground.
First of all, you can see that the Kaduna-Abuja rail line that was not complete at the time they left in 2015 is now complete and functioning. So one credit you must give, first of all, to this government, to Buhari, is that he has concentrated more on fixing the rot they left behind rather than starting new projects. That rail line has now been expanded from even a single gauge rail line to a standard gauge rail line. So he did not only leave it as he met it, he went to revolutionize it. He said, look, increase the capacity of the train line to standard gauge. And that's what we have now. It is fully functional, the the Abuja-Kaduna rail line. Some people say, but it was 80% complete, 70% complete, 90%, whatever. They know it wasn't complete. If it was 99% complete, somebody completed it. So fair enough. Somebody's got to take credit for that. Now, the metro too was not complete. The Abuja metro was also not complete. That is complete and functioning now. So give credit for that. So the president has concentrated on finishing projects and making sure they function. You also saw the Alajawari rail line. That was abandoned even by the military. 38 years ago. And the entire part of 16 years of PDP, they did not even know any rail line was existing at that point. They didn't even touch it. They didn't pretend to touch it at all. That in less than 3 years, because it was after 1 year when we came in that they started to pay attention. In less than 3 years, it is now functioning. And for the first time, I'm a worry boy. As the team enter Warri, now we holla. My guys holla, say shoe, see train. So, I mean, that's on the lighter side, but that is how excited we are in Warri that it is now functioning and then coming into Warri. Now, look at the Lagos-Ibadan Express rail line too. That is about 15 stops on the whole, about 4 or 5 stops already now in terms of the rail line. And it's standard gauge. And that is, of course, the western track. The eastern track will still begin from, I think, Enugu to Maiduguri, or so, if I get my this thing right. The contract has been signed. And after the Lagos-Ibadan, it will now take off. The second leg of that project will take off from Ibadan to Kaduna. It will end up in Kaduna, and that is the western axis of the rail. And the eastern one will kick off very soon. So you can see that the president is concentrating heavily on, he's not a person for razzmatazz. And that has always been his style. He wants to conserve money. He wants to pour the money into infrastructure because he knows that eventually, years to come, the generations will not see cash in your pocket. It's only what you leave on the ground that they will see and benefit from. The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway that was subject to so much controversy for 16 years, I can't even believe it. I can't believe it that for 16 years, the major hub of commercial activities in the western region, they could not just finish it. They were just awarding, re-awarding, litigation. At a point, they say private partnership with one company. You remember there was litigation. They had to get injunctions in the federal government. With all of this litany of litigations here, they were able to be firm enough, remove all of these stumbling blocks, and go and look at the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway now. They are now at the Keyamo Exchange. It's one of the best roads I have seen constructed by, I think it's Bega also, for so many years. Go and see the thickness of that road. It's going to last for so many years to come. And then they are criticizing. They have the guts to criticize. Oh, you have not finished it. Oh, it's only Keyamo. We didn't even touch it for 16 years. People died on that road for 16 years. Now, look at the second Niger Bridge. That's a special fund has been created for. Now, the pillars are coming up in the second Niger Bridge. And guess what? You now see mischief makers who couldn't do it for 16 years. They are going to spite and say, no, it is only 40% complete. No, it is 30%. No, it's only 10 pillars I'm seeing. But for 16 years, there was no pillar at all. It was just a design on the table. That's how mischievous they can be. If a president can move so fast within such a short period of time, it is awesome. The Sukuk bond, I hope you know that the Sukuk bond of 100 billion naira was divided into 6 equal parts of 16-point-something billion naira each for infrastructure, for roads alone in the 6 regions. And for the eastern region, you have the Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway, and you have the Enugu, Onitsha Expressway. And that is what is going on now. Some sections of the road. Of course, they may have been disrupted by a bit of the rainy season. They'll be back again by November. So if you pass there, you don't see them, of course, it's the rainy season. But a section of the road has started. Those who are sincere enough, who ply the road, you can also see that it has started. The Maiduguri Kano Expressway, that major expressway that was not touched for many years, is one of the beneficiaries of the Sukuk bond. I passed the road recently because I joined it from Dushe. I flew to Jigawa, I joined it because it passes through Jigawa, it passes through Katsina and all of that. Awesome what is going on that road. Every single region, they are benefiting from the Sukuk bond, the 100 billion naira Sukuk bond. So it has just been project. The real Mr. Project is Mr. President. It's not somebody wearing that glasses in Port Harcourt. That is the real Mr. Project.
If completed, the Lagos-Ibadan rail line will be maybe the biggest project that we've done in the southwest part of the country. For
years.
Maybe since the beginning of
Lagos-Ibadan
Expressway or
since Cocoa House.
Cocoa House.
Since Cocoa House is the biggest project.
Is there any hope that Buhari will deliver that thing before the election?
Oh no, it will come on stream by December and January. The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway come on stream. It's been a tale of wonderful romance between Buhari and the Western region. They have the most powerful ministers. I hope you know that. If not the most powerful minister, combining road, works, housing, and power, Fashola. It has never been so good for the Yoruba people. Never, ever been so good for the Yoruba people. And they know exactly what is coming to them. They know. And that is one of the advantages of being part of a government by ensuring that you are part of the project. No part of the country should ever be neglected, no part of the government country. But you must also show support. You must show support. You must show the willingness to be able to be part of the entire Nigerian project for you to have.
So, because one of the things that some people have against Buhari government is about the inclusiveness of his projects, his appointments, and...
Do you know what the funny thing I heard of recent? They say Northerners are complaining that he's concentrated too much on the South. And I now heard Southerners are complaining that he's concentrated too much on the North. And they started laughing. I said, so that means the man is fair. I actually went to the North. Northerners were complaining. They said, how could he finish such a wonderful project first in the North, South? Lagos Ibadan. How could he finish such a wonderful? Go and see the project. Lagos Ibadan Expressway and the rail line without paying attention to them first. I mean, that is the president with a large heart. And the major one going on in the east, of course, is apart from the Sukuk Bond and those two major roads I mentioned, is the second Niger Bridge. Three major things that are very close to the heart of the Igbos. It can never be so better. It can never be better. We can talk politics from morning to evening. We can soak everything in controversy. We can deflect attention because you hate somebody, you want to come to power at all costs. But the facts are just facts. The facts are just facts. People are criticizing infrastructure in the West. Christ, for 16 years you didn't do anything. For 16 years, all we have been struggling about in this country is appointments. What did you give me? What did you appoint? If you want to say about appointments, the Igbos, for example, have had some of the biggest ministers, the central bank governor, ministers of finance, all kinds of people. Minister of works at the moment, minister of power, Naji at the point, all kinds of people. There's no correlation, my brother, between appointments and development. There's no correlation. Development is different from appointment. It is not the appointment that brings about development. There's no correlation. If it were so, some parts of this country would have been heaven by now. It's not so.
So the issue of corruption, which is one of the three major agenda of the Buhari...
And which is not an agenda at all for Atiku. Let's not run away from that. Go ahead. It's not an agenda. Go ahead.
So people have said that it's better to have competence.
I just want to let you know it's not an agenda. I'm not arguing, but it's not. Nigerians should know it's not an agenda for Atiku at all. Go ahead.
How well will you say the Buhari government has done in this very regard? Because people are saying that there has been so much noise, but little has been achieved.
Is it noise that achieved the whistleblowers policy that has brought in billions of dollars in whistleblowing tips? Is it noise? The facts are just too hard for them to dispute. Is it noise that brought about a 37 billion naira worth of house in Banana Island that whistleblowers also pointed out? And the federal government put up an advert in the papers for people to come out and identify the house. And if you have the house, come out. I can't laugh. Nobody came out to claim a 37 billion naira worth of house after 1 month of advertisement. It can only happen in Nigeria. And that house has been seized by the federal government. No trace to anybody. Is that noise? Is that noise that found out all those property, all those dollars they stacked in farms in Kaduna, in graveyards, in water tanks that they recovered? Is it noise that sent 2 governors to jail by full and complete trial under this government? Dariye and the guy in Taraba State, Jolly Yame? Is it noise? And those are part of the ruling party? Is it noise?
But it's going to put in place structures.
We are not there. But we have kicked off. We have left the bus stop where we were in 2015. We have left it. When things like this begin to happen, you are already institutionalizing the fight against corruption. You are making it beyond individuals. Because you can point to sterling examples of things that have happened. So nobody can come out to say it's a big man. They'll say, look, others have gone to jail. So it becomes like an institution, the fight against corruption, because you have sent people to jail. You have seen it happen. Nobody can come and say, I'm not bigger than the law. I'm bigger than the states. That is one way to institutionalize the fight against corruption, is to ensure that people actually get punished. So people cannot see it as, a strange thing again for a big man to go to prison. or people to resign from government when they are found to be wanting. That is how to start it. That is how to begin it. To ensure that the rules are obeyed. One way to do it is to remove it from political control, which the government has done. Their own members have gone to jail. They are being tried. Powerful people have gone to jail. So, for the first time, I have prosecuted for the EFCC for so many years now, and I can tell you eyeball to eyeball that for the first time in the history of this country, the president does not interfere in the work of the EFCC. Before, it was one call after the other, morning till afternoon, care without fire. The president is not happy with you. The president is not happy with you. You are investigating person. Everything will just be keeping fires. Dust will be gathering on those fires. I did not say so. The former chairman of EFCC, Farida, said so last year. She openly said so. That was what killed some of the initiatives she wanted to embark upon as chairman of EFCC.
So, to be a legacy for us to see in time to come that anti-corruption fight and every other institution have been well entrenched.
If you don't allow the thieves to come back.
Well, it depends
If you
on
don't allow
what you mean.
those who have been indicted by the various probes internationally to come back. This was how we were deceived in 1985, that Buhari was on the wrong path. They overthrew Buhari in 1985. What happened after? It was one of the worst worst period in the history of Nigeria in terms of corruption that followed after Buhari was overthrown in 1985. We saw corruption sitting down and drinking beer. Comfortable in Nigeria. Corruption was drinking beer. Sat down. They weren't fighting it at all. That is why Nigerians should ask questions. Why are you not making anti-corruption part of your agenda now? You know why? And that's the elephant in the room. Corruption is the elephant in the room in Africa. You want to say you want to do economy. No, you won't fight corruption. You want to build economy. You want to create jobs. You won't fight corruption. All those fanciful things you put there. Fanciful. Job, creating job. You are giving the impression to Nigeria that once you are president, they'll be picking dollars on the road. Far.
Some of them are saying that competence is that if the person is competent, that competence.
What is competent? Was it competent when he handled public institutions between 1999 and 2007 that they collapsed? Nitel, Nigerian Airways, all followed under him, privatization that ended up in a disaster? Was he competent then? You have a public record to run on. Don't run on a private record of funny companies that you siphon public money to go and establish. Run on your public record. You are not Donald Trump that came from nowhere into the American presidency. You are a former vice president. So we're not going to run on the record of those private companies that are nebulous. We don't know their books. We want to run on the record of your public service. And what is the result of that record? The person who employed you, your boss who marked your papers, your boss who brought out the result of Nigerians, who supervised your work, that boss gave us the result of your 8 years as vice president. The boss said you scored 0. Obasanjo said you were the most duplicitous, the most corrupt individual he had ever worked with, and that he would never recommend it to Nigerians. He said so not once, not twice, not thrice. He said so severally. So who am I? I mean, who am I to even assess you? Your boss have assessed you. And then you want to say you want to come and do what now? To do what? When you have a record already that has been marked, your boss have marked your record.
Yeah, it has been a very exciting time having the spokesperson of the Buhari campaign organization in the name of Barrister Keyamo. He has spoken about what the government is doing in the various areas of the goal, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, talking from the no poverty to zero hunger, to how the policies and programs of the government have all affected the education, the good health, and even building of infrastructure and strong institutions. He also mentioned how well the government is doing to ensure that they reduce inequality in the land. And I'm sure it has been a very exciting one. In the studio here, we've been good. And to my colleague, Mr. Luokun.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.
And from me here, Desmond Utobin, thank you, and bye for now.
And that's our package for the week. Remember, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/Fresh News TV and youtube.com/Agenda 2030 TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Just log on to www.facebook.com/freshnewsng and www.facebook.com/Agenda2030TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda2030TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda2030 and Agenda2030TV. Thank you very much for being part of the program this week. We will see you again next week. I am Tony Nkamian John. Until then, bye.